Welcome to One on One. I'm your host, Pat Morrow, and it's time to go one on one. Tonight we have a rather interesting guest. He's the owner-operator of Cuyahoga Valley Radio. He's been on several podcasts, not only here on Crooked River and our podcast, but he's also been on some with SKO, which is where I met him. And he's generally just a pretty good young man, and we figured we'd do a one-on-one with him. Welcome, Eric. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Pat. How about you?
Oh, not doing too bad, I guess, for an old man. Tell me about the station first. How'd you get started?
So this goes back to I've been interested in radio my whole life, and back about in December of 2018, I had gotten a chance to meet with Earl McCune at SKO Radio Network, and to get an internship with them. And I did. It went well, and then I ended up doing a couple of shows over there. Then, unfortunately, that
dissolved itself.
So I'm like, you know what? I think I could do it. I think I can run my own station. So the idea of running, a station came along. At first, I'm like, I'll play music and maybe a couple of podcasts, and that just, I guess, wasn't going as well as I thought it would. So I'm like, let's kind of change things up and do what most internet radio stations don't do, and that is run a national network where I might air a couple actual podcasts throughout the week, and I'm still formatting my own show right now, but most of the time I'm running a sports network called Sports Map, and they have 24-hour programming.
Sweet. What happened with the so that the listeners know, what happened with the music format? Is there a reason it didn't go, or you just decided it was not the way you wanted to be?
I guess people weren't as interested in that as I thought they'd be, so I figured pull the plug on that and kind of try to set a trend, maybe doing a national network, then later coming back and producing my own content on top of what the network provides would help or would bring more interest in to listeners.
Interesting. Let's cover a little bit more about the station. Well, what did you where did you get the idea to do sports?
I love sports, and I figured at least run something that at least I know I would listen to. Because especially at the beginning with internet radio, you might not get a ton of listeners at the beginning. At least for me, it was important to air something that I was willing to listen to, something that interests me, and then eventually will maybe, as time goes, be found by people and interest them too.
Uh-huh. Tell me about a little bit of your personal life. Who's at home, and I take it you've never been married or anything like
No.
that. Any kids you know of?
I cannot confirm or deny. No. But
how about this drinking party you had last night?
we'll get into that later. But to answer your original question, it was I live just with my parents right now. I'm 24, single, so if there's any
ladies.
Yeah, exactly. Ladies, please contact me on Twitter at Cuyahoga Valley or CVRN_LLC. I'll be happy. No. But in all seriousness.
Shameless plug there.
Yeah. But,
all right. You like sports. What's your opinion on the Browns?
I think the pandemic is going to hurt them a little because they're in a new offensive and defensive playbook because they're under a new coach. And because of the pandemic, they're getting less practice time. And
it just never seems like they can catch a break.
No. I just saw they were shutting down operations. A bunch of NFL teams, including the Browns, were shutting down operations for a couple weeks starting today because of positive COVID tests.
Wow. That's I guess that's the elephant in the room. I don't really want to go into the politics of that too much, but what's your feelings on the COVID?
I know it's there, but I feel like the media is they've turned it into an agenda, and it's being forced down our throats, like either wear a mask or, you're gonna get it, you're gonna die.
Yeah, that's pretty much the opinion that I have too. I've heard several comments about how on November 3rd, the COVID is going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll see what happens there. What's something people seem to misunderstand about you? That's a good question. I like that one. Pat myself on the back.
That's even a good question for me to think about. I guess when it comes to me, I've shared on other shows, I have autism, and sometimes I don't communicate clearly. And, well, I also have the bigger thing is I'm visually impaired. And a lot of people, and especially when it gets to the dating scene, again,
yeah.
single here. I'll keep plugging myself here. No. But a lot of people are against the idea of a guy who can't drive when it comes to dating sites,
yeah.
Which makes it even harder nowadays to find someone. I mean, I'm to the point where I hope I find somebody at my either current place of employment or future, place of employment.
Yeah, they say that there's somebody for everybody out there.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that your somebody will, it's going to be from the workplace or somewhere like that. Sure.
Yeah, because I'm not, even though you jokingly brought up about my drinking experience last night, I'm not one to go to the bars. Like, I don't just go hang out at the bars by myself.
Oh, I can understand
That's
that.
just not who I am.
And I'll tell you what, in my early life, I was a little bit that way. But two or three worships of the porcelain god, and you change your opinion on that a whole lot.
Yeah.
But I can really relate to what you said there. All right, let's lighten it up a little bit.
Okay.
What's the most important thing you've learned in your life?
To treat people with respect, because even if they don't treat you with respect, that's no excuse to be rude to them. Actually, kill them with kindness.
Okay, the next part of that question. What was your life like before you learned that?
I guess that's kind of how I've been, because I've had people tell me stories of, like, nice stuff I've said, and I don't even remember saying it. Like, okay, for example, I had an art teacher who, her son-in-law passed, and I guess when she was telling the class that, my response in front of the whole class was, well, you might not see him now, but at least, you'll see him up in heaven. And she's died in the past couple of years.
Oh.
So, yeah. But, like,
along that same line, how do you feel about? This really isn't on my question sheet here. How do you feel about? Do you think people can come back and visit you?
From the dead? Yeah, like in
the spirits.
Spirits. Yeah, I believe people are watching over you. I truly believe that the deceased are watching over you, and maybe not fully come back to where you'll encounter them, but they're watching you and not judging, but also kind of maybe in your self-conscious, they're, the whole example of the good guy, bad guy. Good guy on one shoulder, bad guy on the other. Who are you going to listen to?
Yeah, devil or angel.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've kind of thought that way myself. Okay, let's the next hard-hitting question here. What's your best tip for making the world a better place?
Treat people the way you want to be treated, because nowadays people don't treat people the way they want to be treated. They just treat them how they feel at that point. So if they're angry, they're just going to take it out on any person around them. They're not going to hold back, and then that's when people say stuff that they regret, and friendships or relationships with family members fall apart.
Good point. All right. In 150 years, science fails to save us, and all that's left is a book about Erik. What would the title of the book be? And give us a blurb on what it's about.
Oh, wow.
I go for the good questions here,
that's
buddy.
That's hard hitting. Yeah, I could tell. But I guess it would be, because there's so much negativity nowadays. and I think that's just going to get worse over the years. So just remembering the positives of life. And I guess it would be life tips from a non-professional. The blurb. Or maybe it's reverse. The title of the book will be Life Tips from a Non-Professional.
I kind of like that. I was asked that question once. I don't even remember what I said. I always like that question, though. If you could have dinner with any three people, dead, alive, dead or alive, who would it be?
Let's see. I would say Howie Chiswick, because he's a legend in local radio here, and my interest in radio from when I was a kid. And when I randomly just found his show one day, I was just going through the radio, and his show, or like the station came up, and I'm like, oh, who's this guy? He's interesting. I was maybe like 10 at that point, so I'm like, this guy sounds interesting. Then over the years after that, I started listening to him more. I started listening to that station more, and I then broadened my horizons into sports talk, and then here I am now.
Let's double back to a question that I asked you before. What exactly? I would imagine it was probably after high school you decided you wanted to get into radio. Am I correct with that?
No, I actually wanted to get into radio when I was in high school, but my high school didn't have a radio station.
Where was the first place that you could actually say, yeah, I'd really like to get into radio? Well, how old do you think you were?
Probably 8th grade, so like 15.
Wow.
Which this can bring up a whole nother question from you, but I'm against college because I just don't think, one, college isn't for everybody, and I think college is kind of a scam. So I didn't want to take I didn't want to put myself through college and put myself in debt for the rest of my life for a career that there was no guarantee that there'd be a job for, and it seems like more and more companies are cutting back and getting rid of the local programming and making everything syndicated.
Yeah, that seems to be the way everything's headed today, and it's really kind of a shame because of that. It's, in order to make big money in radio, you've actually got to be in management. Now, there ain't no way I'd want to do that.
No.
And that stuff. Owning a station like we have has really enlightened me because of the fact that I've learned stuff about people. I've seen people grow. I'm sure you can attest to this too.
Mm-hmm.
The people that we've had on the river here, they've really grown as they do their shows, as they produce this stuff. You can actually hear the persona develop. You, for instance, since you've been working with us on the radioactive and all that, you've really come into your own on as far as being opinionated and not really afraid to. Most people are mic shy.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really had that issue because of the fact I've been around some kind of a radio most of my life. But somebody that is in a situation like you have that could be timid to begin with, you really grow into your own, and I've watched that happen. Even going back to the day when I interviewed you over at that other place, you and that I don't remember what her name was when we were talking,
Mm-hmm.
and it. I remember then, and I of course I see you now, and there's no comparison as far as there's really no comparison as the way the two the person back then and you now are.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like you get in this business, you get to watch people grow up.
I I noticed, like, and I was just talking to somebody about this last night, that I feel like I need a co-host. I need somebody to feed off of. But, like, and I think being a part of Radioactive has also helped me in the way that when I bring up a topic, or when I used to on other shows I've been on, it would be, I would ask it in question form. Like, what do you guys think about this? Instead of formatting it in a more of a topic non-question form.
I see what you're saying, and that to me that actually is part of the growth of doing shows like this. When I started Radioactive, it was just me.
Mm-hmm.
I did 3 shows, and I could barely make it through the hour that I was trying to do. And because of that, I had thought I was either going to cut the show in half, or I was going to try to get a partner. You always work well off of partners like that.
Mm-hmm.
And our show, not to break my arm patting myself on the back, but the Radioactive show has grown because of the people that are on it. You've got, anytime you get a group of people together that can talk and get along and have a little bit of a good time, and yet try to teach people something, and you're really doing something.
The biggest thing is valuing the other person's either opinion or what they have to say.
Precisely.
There's a lot of times where a co-host is, not, they're allowed to talk, but they're not valued.
Personally, I've learned in doing that style of show that it's easier for my co-hosts and that to talk than it is for me. I can lead the discussion. I have a little bit of a problem myself making, centering centering on the topic. You've probably noticed that about me time and time again.
A little bit, but
it's not that the want isn't there. It's just trying to lead it without being rude.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of these other shows like that are just plain rude. And I ain't gonna be that way.
No.
We're all there to talk. We're all there to have a good time, and that's the way it is. I prefer it that way.
I mean, and getting into a little side different about me, and this goes into kind of what happened to me last night, which we jokingly made reference to earlier. But when it comes to me with alcohol, and bringing in religion, alcohol is highly against my religion. I've kind of lost my affiliation with the church after I had issues with a pastor.
You have to watch that stuff, son. We'll talk about that off the air. But
But
what's there's an old saying that I can't.
But yeah,
it has to do with the amount of alcohol and the I can't think of even what I want to say here. We'll talk. We'll have to talk about
Yeah.
that sometime.
Yeah.
Does radio energize you or exhaust you?
Energize.
Energize? Huh?
Yeah.
Why?
I guess because I'm passionate about it.
I like that. I can accept that.
The passion that I try to put in to the, like, there might be shows where I don't talk a ton, but I try to make what I say worth it. You know, I try to make people remember what I said or an opinion that I have or, you know, a topic I bring up. I try to make that remembered.
I can understand where you're coming from there.
But, like, in a respectful way. I want to be remembered with my opinion, but I don't want it to be remembered because I disrespected one of the other hosts, or, you know, one of the other co-hosts. Because that's...
And I can definitely believe that, being that I know where we all came from there. But, you know, myself, I've always, and this is going to be a question.
Okay.
What's going to be on your tombstone?
Oh, here lies a man who maybe wasn't always, I guess, going back to what I had said just a minute ago about my opinions, I want to be about the whole being remembered thing. It's, here lies a man whose, opinions were sometimes on point, but at least if he disagreed with someone, that won't... There was a line that... Okay, this is way too wordy for a tombstone.
Yeah, I can relate.
But
it's too early for me.
But I think what you're... I think you know what I'm trying to say, because I know all that couldn't fit on a tombstone. But at the same time, I just... Here lies a guy who respected others and respected and cared about anybody who he came across.
That's a good answer. Mine would be along kind of along the same lines, but this show really isn't interviewing me.
Mm-hmm.
I think mine would be here's a guy that loved to be respected and respected back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's kind of cool. What's your favorite word?
Oh, well, that's one of my favorite words. But
Always?
Oh. Yeah. Oh, I'm stunned at everything. But I guess I don't have one. Every word is equal to me.
What profession other than what you're in now would you like to make an attempt at?
Oh, wow. There's not really one that I don't, there's not one that I can come up with. Honestly.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say to you when you arrive?
Welcome. I forgive you of all your sins, but, you know, don't make understand that you're not perfect, but you. Oh, jeez, I don't even know where I was going with that. I guess welcome and well, welcome, I guess, because that's boring, basic, but okay.
Your room, your desk, or your car? Which do you clean first?
Room.
Room? Why is that?
I guess because that's where I spend my most time.
I gotta ask this because I've never heard you curse. What's your favorite curse word?
Oh, jeez. I would say fuck.
That's pretty much everybody's.
Yes. Yeah.
If you could compare yourself to any animal, what animal would it be and why?
A dog, because I would say I'm resilient on no matter what challenges I have, I still fight through them.
That's a good. I can relate to what you say there. Of course, that's to me. It's always been part of life that you're always going to fight through challenges.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I had another question that I was going to ask you, and now it's poofed. Have you ever won any awards?
When I was in school, I earned like the citizenship award multiple times. 'Cause not only was I, a good student, but I would always try to help out the teachers, teacher's pet maybe, but other than that.
I'm trying to see where we're at with times.
Okay.
All right, one more, and then we'll probably wrap this up. Let's talk about the Browns a little bit.
Okay.
What do you think they're going to do this year? Let me rephrase that. The Vegas is, I think they were at one point calling for 7 games.
Yes.
Over or under?
I think right at. I would have said without COVID, they probably would have made the last wild card. But with COVID and the cut down on practices.
What did you think? How did you think they did in the draft?
I thought they did really well. I would give them A minus.
I kind of think so too. I think the acquisitions, especially in the later rounds, I think they're going to do all right.
And I mean, free agency they did well. Unfortunately, one of their best free agents got injured and has a lacerated liver.
Yeah, we'll see. We're not in the season yet, so we'll see how that transpires.
Yeah.
I just hope that they can keep this going. I know baseball did. I've been surprised at how well they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope that they're able to get through the season and into the postseason anyway. Because I've always had big hopes for them, but they never seem to do much.
Yeah.
Well, maybe this year they'll do something a little different.
I mean, with baseball, I think it's just. I know we got to wrap this up, but I think it's truly the team owners don't want to spend, to get good players.
Well, you got with the Indians, you got one of the hottest pitching team, pitching rotations in baseball. But with the Indians, it's always one thing or another. The bullpens could use some help. when the bullpen's good, the pitchers can use some help. The outfield is.
Yeah.
I would just once like to see them get into a World Series and win it.
I mean, supposedly, even play or not play this year, because they're not able to have fans, they're losing $130 million.
Well, thanks to the COVID.
Yep.
Anyway, let's go ahead and wrap this up. I appreciate you sitting with me
Thank you.
for the time here. It's been an interesting talk with you, sir, and we'll need to do this again sometime.
Definitely.
And with that, y'all have a good evening. Thanks for listening to us. And while I'm at it, or while I'm thinking about it, this show will usually be on Spreaker within a couple of days after it's produced. It'll be under Crooked River Media if that's how you found us. If you've heard us on Crooked River Radio or any other podcast place, please give us a like there, and leave us a comment or anything like that, friend request, whatever. We do appreciate that, and we will see you all on the next show. Have a good one, and bye. Thank you for listening. One on One is a Crooked River Media production.